Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel 1971 War Book series. As you might be aware, I do talk a bit about the current Bangladesh situation, how it is going and how the radical Islamists are spreading and how the Bangladesh Awami League, as you might be knowing from the news media right now, is planning to go for a fight back. Today we will be talking about the current Bangladesh situation with a historical context regarding the Bangladesh Awami League, which is under the leadership of Sheikh Hasina, and how this political party came into existence, its roles under Sheikh Mujibur Rahman before the 1971 war, and whatever it did in 1971, the formation of the provisional government, to the times of Sheikh Hasina's 17-year rule in Bangladesh, to present day Bangladesh. Understanding the crisis of the present day Bangladesh, how Bangladesh is going on a radical Islamist path, how the Bangladesh Awami League sees it and decides to stop this from happening, how Sheikh Hasina herself has protested about this fact of the taking over of Bangladesh, including how the Bangladesh armed forces have played a vital role in the continuous betrayal of the values and identities of Bangladesh regarding the liberation war, the 1971 war, meddling in politics, taking part in coups, assassinations, and the rest is history. We will be knowing all of it in details from a historical context and from a Bangladeshi perspective from Mr. Rana Hassan Mahmud. I will be now reading his designation with a few of his own works that he had done. Mr. Rana Hassan Mahmud is the Executive Director of Center for US-Bangladesh Relations. He is a columnist and a political analyst based in Washington, D.C., but he had been very much active during the time of Sheikh Hasina's rule regarding Bangladesh and the relationship between the US and Bangladesh. Currently, he is out of Bangladesh, staying in the US, and protesting very much, taking part in online campaigns and activities against the present Yunus government, the interim government of Bangladesh. He has written numerous articles on the revitalization of the US-Bangladesh relations, exposing the deep state activities that has resulted in the toppling of the Sheikh Hasina government, Bangladesh going swiftly to the Islamist section, how China is building up connections with the Islamists in Bangladesh, how Bangladesh is being at the crossroads from a secular country to following Iran's path, and including exposing how the deep state works, comparing the Gen Z revolutions of Nepal and Bangladesh, including exposing the recent death penalty given to Sheikh Hasina by the interim government of Bangladesh through the International Crimes Tribunal Dhaka as a political vengeance move by the Yunus government, which is a sign of the erosion of the credibility of the Bangladesh judicial system. Numerous of his articles have been published both in Bangladesh and also abroad, being a very active and vocal supporter of the values and ethos of the liberation war of Bangladesh, including having a friendly attitude towards India and the contributions of India in the Bangladesh liberation war, and also being very closely associated in these online activities, protests against the Yunus government. I would like to thank Mr. Rana Hassan Mahmud for coming up and speaking on my program today regarding the comeback of the Awami League back into Bangladesh from the time of its downfall in 2024, understanding the Bangladesh Awami League, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman from a historical perspective, to understanding a bit about Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, and the undesirable elements inside Bangladesh. Let's welcome Mr. Rana Hassan Mahmud to our program today.
Thank you, Rana Mahmud sir, for joining this program, I would say from the US, and being a political analyst and columnist, sir. I would like to have your brief thinking, discussion, and what you consider about the present day Bangladesh situation, so especially as you have been involved very much with the Awami League. So first of all, sir, as I would like to go with your perspective regarding the Awami League. I would like to have a brief introduction and history of the Awami League regarding Bangladesh, and then we'll come to the developing situation right now in the present. So if you could go ahead a bit with the history of the Awami League, sir.
Oh, thank you, Devduti. It's very kind of you to invite me to this program. First of all, I have to correct one thing. I'm not a party member of Awami League,
Okay.
but Awami League led the freedom movement. Awami League was the party of our founding father, and Awami League is the party of the daughter of the founding father, our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. So I am a natural supporter. My family was, my extended family member were involved during the formation of Awami League in 1949. So apart from that, just let me tell you about the briefest history of Awami League. After the partition, when Pakistan was created, the progressive faction of Muslim League, they were residing in Bengal, Calcutta based, basically. So since Sarwardi, Abul Hashim, and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, at that time he was Sheikh Mujib, young student leader. So after the partition in 1948, Sarwardi was not allowed to get into Pakistan, but he felt that necessity for a more populist political party, and it was basically his idea to form a counterweight against elitist Muslim League, to form Awami League. And 1949, June 23rd, in Dhaka, Rose Garden Palace, they met, and the leadership met, and they formed Awami Muslim League.
Okay.
And Sarwardi was a all Pakistan leader, was considered, quote unquote. Maulana Vashani was a leader from Assam Muslim League, and he was an elderly leader, so he was the first president. And Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, at that time young Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was the number one joint secretary, and Khandaga Mustaq Ahmed, the one who
Right, right.
was involved in the assassination of, the key guy of assassination of Bangabandhu. He was the second joint secretary. But Devduti, I'm telling you one thing. If I tell this brief history of Awami League like this way, Awami League cannot be defined that way. You see what I'm saying? Because Awami League is a party, the only political party in the history, whose elected representatives led armed struggle for liberation and won a victory. Okay, the only other country whose elected representatives led an armed rebellion and liberation war was United States of America.
Right.
You see, the Congress, the second Congress of United States, they declared independence, and under their leadership, there was the rebellion and revolutionary war. There was no party at that time. So that way Awami League is unique in history. And if I may add few lines with your permission, okay, because Awami League, you see, we had the British rule, and then after the British left, there was like a permanent settlement of the British, and the Hindu jamindars, we call, they were the landlords and landowners locally, tax collectors, and then the Pakistan. These three periods or three entities, if we consider the British, were the oppressors, foreign elements. The Hindu jamindars, mostly Hindu jamindars, they were considered as the local oppressors. And then in Pakistan, soon after Pakistan was created, we found out that, that was not what the Bengali Muslims wanted, right? So Awami League actually, in contrast of all three elements, okay? First of all, the British, definitely, they were the rulers. But then there was 100 years of Renaissance by the Hindu Bengalis based in Calcutta, okay?
Right.
And Jamindari was in the East Bengal. And not just the Muslims, but the Hindu farmers or the so-called low caste, the tafsilis, they were also the victims. You see what I'm saying? Of
Right, right.
different way. And I mean, I don't want to go to long story or history about it, but when the Great Bengal Partition came about, the Bengal partition was asked for by the Urdu-speaking Dhaka's Nawabs, okay? And it was opposed by a nationalistic movement by the Bengalis per se, okay? By considered the Calcutta-based Hindus, but it covered the East Bengal side too. And during that time, after that, the first among the Bengali Muslims, Shere Bangla Fuzullah was a prominent figure who stood for the rights of the farmers and the peasants and others. But there was a huge shift of Bengali psyche and the political landscape when Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das was in the scene. He was a magnanimous figure. He was totally secular. His idea was almost revolutionary. And I will say the Bengal Pact that he did when he understood that there's a huge divide between the Muslims idea and the Hindu idea. So he wanted to close the gap, economic gap, social gap. And he allowed the Muslims the proper number-wise representation, so on and so forth. What he did, actually, about 25 years later, United States did it. It's called affirmative action. Those communities who are in the disadvantaged situation, they get extra leverage in the government jobs and in all places, and still running in the USA since 1948. So Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das was like, at least he did it in 1923,
1923.
ahead of time. You see what I'm saying? And it is very unfortunate for all of us, for India at large, Bengalis for sure, that he died so early. Shere Bangla Eke Fazlullah had a big impact, like I said, among the Muslim peasants and the Muslim poor people. So there was some divide, but this divide was exploited in many folds by the British. And if you look at Muhammad Ali Jinnah, currently a term very much used is deep state.
Deep state.
And Dr. Yunus is a representative of the deep state, right? So back then, Muhammad Ali Jinnah was the representative of the deep state. Because what he was not in his personal life, he was the product of that in his political life.
Right.
He used Islam, or he used the Muslim sentiments to a farthest extent. That was point of no return. Okay, and that was that division. And I would say, with all honesty, that it was not just the deep state or Jinnah's for the partition, which caused a tremendous devastation for our psyche and our landscape. It was not just only Jinnah's plan, or he acted as a stooge of the British. It was a massive failure by Congress, especially with all due respect to Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru. So, on that cycle of failures and violence, when Awami League was formed by the progressive side of the Muslim League, okay, those protagonists of Pakistan, it was formed basically in Daden, East Bengal, and then it was pretty fast. The idea was captured by the young leaders like Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And by 1955, the Muslim word was dropped to make it more secular. So Awami League, from that point on, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was the General Secretary since 1953, and he became president in 1966. And the 60s, he led Awami League towards the liberation war, basically to lead the liberation war. So that sentiment, I wrote in one piece that Bangabandhu made Awami League very close to the people, to the nature of Bangladesh, to the soil of Bangladesh.
Right.
So you cannot defeat the whole idea of Awami. See what I'm saying? So sorry for the long introduction, but I think certain historical background was necessary to understand why Awami League is so powerful, still in people's psyche and minds.
And I think there is a saying in your country that 71 and Mujib is equivalent, and I think many freedom fighters had that sentiment during their fight against Pakistan.
Well, one of my earliest piece that I wrote in 1998, I guess, in one of the leading dailies in Bangladesh, my first line was that if history of Bangladesh is written in three words, that will be Mujib, 1971, and independence. You cannot simply write any other way. And if you look our history like 2000 years back, that's the center point, what Bangabandhu did. And he was far ahead of his time in his thought process. The country which was born out of communalism, Pakistan was a definitely openly declared communal country. From that sentiment of the people, within just 23 years, he made world's first declared secular state. And I would, with all my due respect to the listeners in India, I would say our constitution in 1972, the founding principle, one of the four founding principles, was secularism, and that was there before India inserted it in 1976. Indian constitution, the secularism was inserted with a constitutional amendment in 1976. So he was far ahead of his time, but we did. Most Bengalis, I think, could not understand him that way. The generation who understood him, they led the liberation war and won a victory. And this next generation, who didn't understand him,
I think
who doesn't want to.
That problematic generation came up after the 1980s, I guess.
Yeah, it was the contribution of our first dictator, Mujibur Rahman. He just completely turned the history on the opposite direction. He confused quite a few generations. Being a freedom fighter, it was easy for him to confuse people. For example, I'm just giving you one example.
Please.
That our army, our armed forces, were born in during the Liberation War. That's why they celebrate the 1st of September at the Armed Forces Day. And being an army chief, whether legal or illegal, where he ascended to the chief post or whatnot, during his time, and followed by Irshad and his wife Begum Khaleda Zia, even the armed forces could not say which country they fought against and won a victory. Very few armed forces had this fortune. Then you fought a war and you won a victory, outstanding victory. Like, you have all the pictures behind you. But they could not say that, they fought the Pakistani army.
Right.
And apart from that, in 1976, in November, while he was quite in power, there was a military ordinance, martial law ordinance, saying that Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, any part of this, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, any part of combined, no government officials or functionaries can mention or write this name. It was an ordinance.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, it was the ordinance.
I was not aware of that.
Okay. Yeah. And it was, I forgot the number of the ordinance, but it is there in 1976. And interestingly enough, this ordinance, along with the infamous indemnity ordinance, were a part of the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution when he came to power, and falsifying the election in 1979. He won 200 some seats. So this was a part of it, and that is why for next how many years, like when our Prime Minister came to power at first in 1996, this was the law of the land.
Right.
So we are the inheritant of this unfortunate history, unfortunately.
Now Bangladesh, having what I can say, being led to the liberation war by the Awami League and fought by the freedom fighters, of course, and then with a lot of ups and downs in the politics in the last, I would say, 50 plus years. I would like to come to the period of Sheikh Hasina's rule, the last 16 to 17 years of rule. As far as I've heard and seen myself, it has been the best time for Bangladesh itself. though the narratives right now in Bangladesh are very different and of course untrue, but I would like to know a bit about small parts of about how the contribution of Sheikh Hasina's led government with the Awami League, how it had progressed Bangladesh from what I remember hearing it to be a very poor country, and then hearing during the COVID times to be a booming economy. So,
Yes, I mean that happens when a leader like her, I mean patriotic leader like her is in power. Okay, let me give you just two statistics. In 2007, our per capita income was around 600 some dollar. Okay,
this was
Pakistan's
during the BNP time, right, sir?
no 2007 is like the interim government that time.
Government, right?
Yeah, they came to power. BNP's time it was 500 something. Okay, so it was roughly 625. I don't have the stats right in front of me, but that was the per capita income. Pakistan's was 900 something. Okay,
Okay.
and India was 1800 or 1900. Okay, that was their per capita income. If you fast forward from that 2007, she came to power in 2008, end of 2008, and when she left, Bangladesh's per capita income was 2493 or something, or crossing, I mean, close to 2500. Pakistan is 1200 or 1300, and India is in our neighborhood somewhere there, or a little bit higher or a little bit less. They were in 2023, I guess.
Right.
That became news. With maybe $20 or $30 less. So that was the progress. How did she do it? First of all, she's extremely courageous. She's extremely patriotic, and what she did was utilized the people's power. We don't have oil, we don't have gas, we don't have other natural resources, but she was able to guide the nation towards. We are a capitalist society, a pseudo capitalist society. So while she allowed it to flourish, but she did not forget the marginal people. You see, the
Poor people.
farm, the poor people, right? I mean, the retired poor people, or the widows, or the handicapped, other people. She was giving them certain amount of stipend, so that was spurring the economic, activities in the local level, so that they don't fall. And then she started that. It's called Ekti Bari Ekti Khamar, one home and one piece of land, and she was involving the people for their hard-earned money. You put something, and the government will put the rest, so that they have the dignity, and the government is supporting them to create your own little backyard, little farming. Okay,
Right.
and so these are the things. I think this is a very, amazing model of a society that she was trying to create an equilibrium so that everybody grows. Yeah, some people grew very fast. Some people were corrupt. That happened in Malaysia, in South, all those fastest growing countries. It happened. Even in USA, if you look at the early centuries, early 20th centuries or late 19th century, it was totally corrupt. Because this capitalist society. But the fact remains the same. The fact remains very strong that she brought the mega infrastructure project at one hand. The farming was developing. Teaching was developing. You look at every aspect of Bangladesh society, the economy. Otherwise, and this was recognized by the United Nations and all other international forums or organizations. How this was being progressed. She emphasized on the progress on the woman. The 50% of the usually developed, and we in HDI, Human Development Index, in United Nations, that criteria how you measure actually countries' development. We are way far ahead of Pakistan. We don't even want to compare with Pakistan. In many aspects, we are ahead of India.
Right.
It's even Sonia Gandhi, she mentioned it openly, and she was very proud of it that Bangladesh, grew so fast. So that is actually, I mean, the whole episode that Dr. Yunus did with his foreign masters is to really break the back of this country, okay, and create a regional instability. And when there's instability, you have these outside actors, they can thrive. So right now we are in a dangerous position, and India is not secure at all. Okay, I will say Sheikh Hasina's tremendous contribution was to keep this stability, regional stability going.
Right.
We have no reason to, to help the unelected insurgents in the northeast. What BNP was doing, with Pakistan and ISI. And I just want to say to the viewers in India. You see, I mean, I want to. I mean, if you, I read a book long time ago. It was written by Durga Das. He was the editor in chief of Hindustan Times back in the 40s. Very close to Muhammad Ali Jinnah and very fond of. I mean, Mahatma Gandhi was fond of him. So there was a very famous book written by him. Is like I think it was titled India from Curzon to Nehru and after, something like that. I read it when I was a ninth grader. Okay, so in early 40s, after the Lahore, resolution was passed, and there was a meeting between Mahatma Gandhi and Muhammad Ali Jinnah in Birla Bhavan in Delhi. So Jinnah met, I mean, Durgadash met. He was a young, journalist. He met Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He asked, "How was it go? How was the meeting?" So Jinnah was very jovial. He said, "Oh, it was wonderful." You know what Gandhi asked me? So Durgadash asked him, what did he ask? So Gandhi was confused about the idea of Pakistan. Okay, so he said, Gandhi asked me, "Are you, Mr. Jinnah, proposing a country, if independent, it will be always at opposition to India?" So Jinnah laughed, while he was talking to Durgadash, and he said, "Durga, all I have to say yes." You see that it is a very important aspect that all Indians should understand, the policymakers should understand. This didn't happen just because there was, militancy in. It is the founding principle by the founder of Pakistan that whatever you do, India, Pakistan will be at opposition.
Right.
Okay, so and we Bangladeshis were surprised that when Pakistani prime ministers, I mean, let's say 20 years back or 30 years back, when Pakistani prime ministers were going to Delhi, the celebrities from Bombay were coming, and Europe, big things going on. When our prime minister, including in the 90s, when she was the prime minister, our prime minister Sheikh Hasina, when she was going there, it was not that big a deal to New Delhi. What are you entertaining?
Right.
Entertaining an idea that is formed in opposition to your existence, your ideas, and it will be always there because this is the founding principle. So I would say to revisit these issues, that we will never be able to be in friendship with Pakistan. And Paul Kapoor, who is the new Assistant Secretary of State in South Asia, and he's an expert in Pakistan. And he mentioned in one of these articles, and it came out with other pieces with the book, and he said it very clearly that jihadist proxies that Pakistan government entertains, this is a part of their slow poisonous war. I'm paraphrasing what he says. You see what I'm saying? Because that's their proxy.
Right.
That the weaker Pakistan can make their people live in fear that India or the other countries. So these are the jihadists and
India is
the
coming all the time. That kind of fear.
wrong interpretation of Islam. And on top, this Asif Munir kind of people, they will be ruling the country. So, I mean, I would say to the policymakers, if I were to meet the policymakers, I met one of your policymakers in Washington D.C. when he came to the National Press Club. So I told him, First of all, I told him that, look, I mean, we are in a situation that we need your help, the way you helped us in 1971. And long before this Pakistani general said that the next war will be from the east, like 2 months, I already told him that next Pahalgam is coming in the northeast and the launching pad will be Bangladesh. So Indian policymakers and people like you who are political analysts should think very deep and hard to create what Churchill called an iron curtain. Put an iron curtain on the west. Think about the east. This BIMSTEC, which was, I think it was the idea of our Prime Minister during for her first tenure, 96 to 2001. The BIMSTEC, like India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Burma, Myanmar, Thailand, the surrounding countries, the Bay of Bengal, to create an economic zone.
Right.
So India should, I mean, right now Bangladesh is in a mess. It's not going to happen right now. But no, I mean, Awami League is going to come to power. Our Prime Minister is going to come to power. I'm sanguine about it, whether it's this year or next year, sometime. But at that point, this should be addressed very strongly. Like we should make some kind of European Union. Before European Union, there was EEC. Okay, I mean, long time ago, that was in the 60s when they formed first, or the 50s. So it was there, and then it turned into European Union, that you can go to each other's country without visa or anything like that if you're a citizen of something. So we should think about it, and we should take China as a partner country, even though they're at odds with India, and China should also understand that they're not going to get an inch of Arunachal Pradesh or Sikkim.
They are a big trading partner with us, of course. So
yes, I mean, whatever China imports, they export 10 times to India. It's a huge market.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of ideas that we can explore, but the thing is, the policymakers should understand that you will never get friendship from Pakistan. It is not in their interest of the ruling clique.
Right.
Otherwise, they will not survive. You see what I'm saying? They are surviving and thriving on anti-Indian sentiment, and that they're exporting that into Bangladesh. Okay. And one of the faults, I'll say, if I be critic of Awami League, one of the major fault of Awami League was there that we could not define the friendship with India. You see, there is a undercurrent and there are major currents sometimes that always against India. But all these agreements, since Bangabandhu's, that's 25-year, long agreement that he signed, there was not a single clause that went against Bangladesh. Not a single clause. You see, I mean, that the clause that they were talking about, that the security clause. That security clause was mutual. That
exactly.
country, will not allow a third country who can fight against the other country. It's natural. You see, I mean, because we have 4,000 kilometers of border. It's probably the second or third largest border in the world. And when Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina came to power, and she resolved that our hill tracks problem, definitely with India's help, indirectly, she got that our northern districts, that those is called small enclaves, for the benefit of both. And on top of that, we got a huge chunk of Indian Ocean area. I mean, like in Bay of Bengal, that was previously was exploited by India. We got it, and India was welcomed it, right? Until recently, when India stopped tariff-free access to its airport for the Bangladeshi exports, we did not know that this deal actually existed.
Right.
That's my point. It's such a favor that this big country like India is doing it. But we knew, I mean, most people knew that, India is out to get us. We don't have a transit, we have a transshipment.
Transshipment, exactly.
Yeah, even from Nepal, we have a transshipment, right? And the transit actually was given by Zia Rahman in 1977, the river transit to India, but nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about that we import less than $9 billion worth of products from India, and we export about $2 billion products to India. But we import $16 billion product from China and export less than $500 million to China. We don't say that, China is out to get us, but we say India is out to get us, right? So there is a underlying that communal feelings are there. That's the vestiges of the bad part of the partition that we could not get out of it.
Because some people
But
still fester and build upon that idea for their own gain.
exactly, that's what they do. But in this point, Awami League has a better job to do,
Hmm.
and also Indian policymakers have much better job to do,
Job to do.
because we are not just a country. We are a country that's Indian national security is inevitably intertwined with
And
everything else.
and dependent very much.
Very much dependent. Now you can feel it, right?
Hmm.
So somehow, I mean, our Mamata D has to be handled. I mean, she was. I have to be open with you. What she did to Bangladesh about this river thing.
Hmm.
It was absolutely untoward and absolutely unnecessary. You see, I mean, either way, 3/4 of the river falls into Indian territory. We get like 1/4 of it.
Hmm.
But the value, the normal value is much bigger than the other things. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So that is the important part of the whole thing. So I will say that we have to revisit. We
And
have to revisit.
reiterate and I would say reanalyze the Indo-Bangladesh relations further, of course.
Yes. So that is where we are right now. But right now our situation is in a critical point in history.
Hmm.
We are actually in an undeclared civil war. When they
Right.
destroyed our founding fathers' home, first when they burned it, they just gave a hint. Then 6 months later, they bulldozed it. We are
I
already
think
in.
recently they went to again do whatever they wanted
Yeah,
to do.
they're trying to do this. I don't know how this generation came, but this generation was there. I mean, when I look back, you wonder who burned down the Library of Alexandria. This kind of barbarians they did, right? I mean, if you look at Hitler's book burning ceremony, when he came to power in 1932, I mean, you wonder how could they do it? You see what I'm saying? Germany produced so many scientists and laureates and other things. I mean, be them Jewish or I mean, books are books,
Right?
but they were burning books. So these are the barbarians who has occupied the country in the name of religion or name of nationalism or whatnot. They could not even define it. So we'll have to get out of it. And I think, unfortunately, there will be bloodshed. There will be fight. I mean, if somebody thinks, any party or any group thinks that some foreign power, even India, will, set up I mean,
Intervene, I would say, whatever.
yes, war. Our fight is our fight. We have to win our fight.
Now,
That's how
I would like to know a bit about. I mean, I would like to share with you something as well before we go forward. That is, during my last visit to Bangladesh in 2022, I myself had seen on the 16th of December children. I would say not only just children, but grown-up adults, teenagers, people who are above 18. They didn't look like poor people at all. Some of them had iPhones, stepping onto the 1971 war memorials, taking funny selfies. I'm not extending what they were, with murals regarding the 71 war, and I would say literally dancing around near genocide memorials. That was completely unacceptable to me because we can't think of like this in India, and so I halted and stopped a few of them, and they were giving me a funny look. But that was like, something is wrong here, that kind of a feeling. I hope you understand. I was getting that myself. Like, what is this? It's very unacceptable.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, with our economic progress, I think we failed, at this generation. I mean, we'll have to admit that, our party, the party that we support, Awami League, and its leadership, they possibly failed this generation. You know why? Because when Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina came to power, we had less than 1 million people who has internet access.
Hmm.
In 2024, we had 140 million people with internet access. So there was a huge economic shift in the you know, all over the country. You know, those people were really poor. Now they can afford to go to private universities. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So it happened very fast. Okay. Secondly, when she came to power, she found the BNP, you know, is a very confused, I will say, anti-liberation force, even though they claim otherwise, and they are the patron of all the anti-liberation forces. If you remember, in 2013, 14, and 15, they were actually burning people alive, you know, to create a movement, right?
And 13, I guess, 2013.
It started 13, it continued severely on 14, and then 13 was Ganojagaran Mancho, you know, and they started it. Yeah, and it went into 15. So 3 years they were trying to destabilize the government. And Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, with her, you know, huge prudence, she handled it very carefully. So in one hand, she has to manage these people, and then the Hifazat came into the picture. So possibly the Awami League's leadership thinking was, you know, we will have to cater these people to, you know, make this other venomous force quiet, and then they compromised a lot of things. For example, the madrasa educated students were given direct access to Dhaka University. Dhaka University was a very progressive university.
Right,
you know.
right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, our history is intertwined with Dhaka University. So the whole bunch went there. And then I will say what Bangabandhu did in the 50s. He, side by side with the political movement, he encouraged a cultural movement.
Right.
You know, I mean, he never used the word East Pakistan. He always says East Bengal, Bengal or Bangladesh. You know, these kind of things. And there was our folklores, our, you know, folk songs, that those were coming into the picture. But opposite happened during this last 15 years, 15 to 17 years, when our Prime Minister was focusing on the economic uplift of the country. I think her idea was that if you create a fast, you know, middle class, they will hold the democratic ideas. You see what I'm saying? They will not be. Look at it, India. Until early 1990s, there was riots, you know, in every election, pre-election time,
Every
right?
time.
After 90s, when the economic progress started, you know, India was booming. Now there's no riot.
Right.
You know, I mean, you see, I mean, because there's a huge middle class came with
With globalization. I think that
Yeah,
happened to
yes,
Bangladesh
exactly.
in Sheikh Hasina's time only.
Yes. So, but I think with many successes of Awami League leadership, this was one part that we failed, totally failed. And, you know, the outcome we can see, so virulent outcome. I mean, so many madrasas, like 8 million students are graduating from madrasas. So what are they learning? And what is their worldview? That we have to think about now. You understand my point? So that's where we failed miserably, and this is a dangerous failure because this youth, you know, it goes generation before because once their mind is distorted, you know, you cannot just overturn the mind. You know, I mean, this is dangerous. I think in future when Awami League comes to power, I have talked to some of the members of parliament, and they admitted it openly that, you know, they overlooked, you know, with this economic progress, this side was lagging.
Right.
I'll say they'll do one thing. If somebody doesn't read Rabindranath or doesn't understand Rabindranath, he cannot be a proper human being. If somebody doesn't understand Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he cannot be a Bengali. You see what I'm saying? So we are blessed with these two amazing personalities.
And personalities, I would
Yeah,
say.
yes,
Right.
and given by God, but, you know, we are not, I mean, we don't understand them. You see what I'm saying? I mean, most people, so this is our failure. Those who are appreciative of them, we could not communicate with the masses that what Rabindranath was or is. I mean, he's always present to me, and what Bangabandhu was and is. So it's a political failure for our perspective, because when Hifazati said that, oh, Rabindranath cannot be in the text curricula, I think some adjustments were made,
Mm-hmm.
but Rabindranath has to be everywhere. Bangabandhu has to be everywhere. You see
Right.
what I'm saying? So otherwise, I mean, even it's true. I mean, West Bengal is, okay. I mean, you guys were ahead of us like 100 years, back then when the Renaissance started, in the early 19th century. So, but Bangladesh, they caught up with our
They
liberation
did.
war.
They did catch up.
Phenomenal aspects, right? I mean, within just 20 years, Bangabandhu made this country. I mean, we were leading a liberation war, and we won the victory. I mean, of course, with the help of Indira Gandhi and the Indian people. But the blood was ours. You see what I'm
Most of
saying?
it, I would say.
Yeah, and that glory. But one very positive thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of progressive people I've seen that were totally against Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Progressive people, those who actually love and adore Bangabandhu and liberation war and all that.
Mm-hmm.
They were against Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina for many reasons. One of the reasons that he's catering this madrasa going people. There's another group of people who are kind of leftist. They were against Sheikh Hasina because
And they're
she was
educated people.
educated people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I have noticed that, and some of them, because I'm involved with a lot of things, like community-wise or other policy-making things. So, I mean, when on 15th July, 16th July last year, when we realized that this is heading in the wrong direction, this student movement.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the groups that I'm involved in, so I wrote an internal memo that we have to support our Prime Minister unconditionally. It was, before her speech, I said this is the undercurrent. There is Jamatis are there, Jamaat Shibir is there.
Mm-hmm.
So people are not understanding. The progressive people are not understanding. So I was targeted, in social media.
Okay.
That I was called Sheikh Hasina's chamcha and all this kind of thing. I didn't care. But when August 5th, when Bangabandhu's home was burned, I can hold my emotion. My sister called me at 2 o'clock in the night, and she was sobbing because nobody could even their wildest nightmare think that somebody can touch that house.
Right.
Even the worst enemy, like Pakistanis, did not destroy. They ransacked inside, but they didn't destroy. Zia Rahman did not destroy. Zia Rahman, put a lock, and he was trying to actually sell it off. You see what I'm saying? Because the army, his colleagues protested that, and he could not do it. But somebody can set fire to that house. That's our existence. So my
Very
system,
existence of the liberation war, the heart of it.
not just liberation, the whole thing. Our pride.
Right.
So many things happened in that house. So my sister started sobbing. So I was in tears. I couldn't believe. I said, no, this cannot happen. So next day, I saw some of my inbox, that Rana bhai, what you said was right. It is the Jamaat Shibir, they too. And they turned around. Worldwide, actually, this happened. And if you count the worldwide, this movement, the social media movement that is going on, I will say more than 90% are not even members of Awami League. I mean, much more than that. They're not members. I'm not a member of Awami League. So they're doing it. And now they realized the Awami League is the only party in Bangladesh. And, fortunately, and on the other hand, unfortunately, those
The only
who
party, I would say.
only party
No other
is the
party.
vanguard of secularism,
Mhm.
of our liberation movement, of all the prides the Bengalis can have, including, like I said, Rabindranath, Nazrul, Jivanananda Das, the practice of this, if you look at it, how fortunate we are to have these people and to uphold the liberation war values, liberation movement values, I would rather say. So these progressive people, those who were almost virulent attack, they were, giving against Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina during her, premiership.
Mhm.
They now flipped completely.
Right.
For us, we are proud that we understood that the current of the history, and then we were the right side of the. So I just we should also accept them. I mean, we should not just completely vilify them. That it is because of you this happening. Actually, it's because of them it happened. But the plan of deep state was so massive.
So massive.
They will make a LGBT person. Oh, I'm getting the freedom, and we are gonna fight against this religious charlatans and the religious militants. They are thinking that if Sheikh Hasina goes, we are gonna kill all the LGBTs. You see what I'm saying? Everybody was into the movement. Everybody thought they have a stake into the movement, and then the ultimate winner is the extremist, the militant things. So when we talk with the policymakers in USA, I tell them without any hesitation, I say this is just not Afghanistan, this is just not Yemen, this is not just Syria. This is a country with 180 million people, and if you look at the surrounding areas, we have altogether more than close to 500 million people there, or 400 million. Okay, so if you destabilize this current is not going to stay here. This is going to head to the west. And you will not be able to control this. So they understand. And I wrote some of the pieces early on in March and April, pointing to that direction.
Because I think the Arab Spring in the Middle East, it affected not only Europe but also the US, Canada, these two countries massively.
Massively, not only those, but the deep state. I mean, there's no actual definition of deep state, but I'll tell you one thing. George Shultz was, I think, he was the foreign secretary of Ronald Reagan. So during just after the Iraq War, when Tony Blair was blamed for getting into the Iraq War, without proper intelligence documentation and everything, that he didn't have a
the biological weapons were there in Iraq.
Yeah, okay. So in San Francisco, they had a closed door meeting. Okay, the who's who of the world, like the I'll say neo-colonialist, that part of the thing. In that speech, somebody, secretly taped him, and he said that war is a good business for us. We in the West, we live in a democratic society. We have to, make our people's economic and social progress and ideas and everything. Then we win the election. But the wealth is on the other side. He said the war is a good business because when we have a war, their infrastructure is destroyed, and then they will call us again, and we go there and help them. Then we can have a setup. So this is a whole cycle that is going on. So that's why I'm saying that hopefully, by the grace of God, this nightmare is going to go away. The nightmare that Yunus is, because last 13 November, when Awami League was not in the street, but people locked them down in their own home.
Right.
That is a silent protest against Yunus's rule. So, and our Prime Minister is strong, and she has her plan. So hopefully we'll come back.
We are going to talk about this as well, regarding how the Awami League, after staying silent, literally silent for a few months, then Sheikh Hasina starting to talk slowly, then I would say protests starting to happen from November last year to the complete observation of lockdown day, and consecutive protests happening every day. And I think even today in a protest, the Dhaka College Chhatro League leader was arrested, but the boys are not stopping. So I would like to discuss with you about this, like how does the Awami League receive this moral, not only this moral boost, I would say, but also this courage to step up against the Yunus government, because it's all very clear to us what the Yunus government is, trying to lead Bangladesh towards an East Pakistan. So it's not only a value of patriotism, but also like trying to rescue whatever is left of Bangladesh. So I would like to know from you how the Awami League is going through such a process on ground inside Bangladesh, as much as possible that you can discuss, sir.
Awami League is a badge of honor for in Bangladesh. Awami League is a badge of honor. Like I said, Awami League led the freedom struggle and the liberation war that no other country had that kind of political party. Awami League is generational. Awami League, Bangabandhu made Awami League in such a way that it is inherent to our psyche, to our soil, to our songs. You see what I'm saying? So, for a brief moment, people were confused. They were successful, the foreign powers and locals.
Right.
They were successful, massive investment of money. But when the people saw what happened, our history was completely erased in just 3 days. Not only Bangabandhu's home, but every single sculptures were destroyed. Our Liberation War Museum was destroyed. Whatever we have, the pride position was destroyed. And the leaders of Awami League were so much brutalized, like more than 150 members of parliament in the jail right now, but other leaders like Chhatra League leaders, Yuva League leaders, they're family members. It's unprecedented. Even after the liberation war, not a single home of Rajakar or Alpador's home were ransacked or destroyed. Not a single family member can say that, our women members, like ladies,
Were
were harassed.
or harassed.
Violated. Not, never. You see what I'm saying? Yes, we had a disgust about, we had a disgust about those criminals, genocidal criminals, and naturally so. But over here, they were completely, they wanted to like a Jakarta plan, you see what I'm saying, to destroy Awami League completely from the, memories of the people. But it had an opposite effect. Okay, it took time for them to reorganize, gather. And another thing, Bangabandhu prepared Awami League throughout the 60s for our ultimate freedom. But this Awami League was in power for 17 years. They were not ready to fight anything. The economy was vibrant, progressing. We were honored in the international arena. We had an amazing prime minister with such a personality. So they were not ready to fight. So it caught them off guard because they were ready to kill. You see? That's the difference between the 60s and now, what happened. So now Awami League has regrouped. Secondly, because Awami League is generational, like it's a pride position of their home. As if, you see what I'm saying? This is like badge of honor, like I say. So they are the only force, because the leftists completely failed and they were the part of this conspiracy, and I loathe them. I hope that Awami League never take them.
I think the betrayal started since the days of Shiraz Shikdar, to be honest.
Yeah, those were extremists, but on the other hand, when we have Moni Singh and Comrade Farhad, they were big figures. Yeah, and they were always, they understood their limitation and they understood the greater picture. But now the leftists, I don't want to even mention their names. They're such a coward bunch of people. We don't need them. Basically, Awami League is enough for the country right now. You see, I think if you look at some of the sound bites of the rickshaw pullers or some ordinary people, you'll see how much love they have for
Awami League and Sheikh Hasina, right? I've heard
yes,
that.
of course. Yeah. So they realized what is happening, and the tide is turning pretty much, and Awami League knows when to hit. I do not know how they will do it, but they are prudent enough. When their back hits the wall, they know how to go forward, and it is their history, time and again and again. In 1966, when Bangabandhu declared the 6-point program, every single Awami League leader was in jail. Just one lady was outside. She was just turning the light on in Awami League office. Every single one of them was jailed. But what happened when he was, with the victorious comeback, 1969? Within 2 years, we are free. We are free. So now, what they're doing to Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina? It's not working. They thought she's gonna erase or fade away from the memory. No, she has come back roaring. And all international news outlets, including the Western ones that she gave the interviews. It was fantastic. You see what I'm saying? So they cannot control anything about that. And then I think her son, advisor to the Prime Minister, Mr. Sojibaji Joy, he's speaking out very eloquently, non-aggressive. The speech is
I
very
think
statesmanlike.
he did a very good job in exposing the links of many Bangladesh-based terror groups linked to the Delhi blast recently on the 10th of November.
Yes, 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 yeah. Recent interview, if you have noticed that, and he's time and again he said that death of that many people is regrettable, but it has to be thoroughly investigated. And
Right.
Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina openly said, she, set up a commission for investigation, which Yunus actually dismantled it. And it's open now that if he was not involved, Yunus and his gang, then why would they give indemnity from 15th of July till 8th of August
8th of August.
to everybody who was involved? You see what I'm saying? So it is open. So that's what is happening right now. But Awami League will come back in a much popular fashion. And every time this thing happened, like for 21 years, Awami League was out of power. And when they came back, see, the country, which is nowhere in the international news, was a model of success for the next 17 years. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So it will happen again. And so from progressives like Awami League and the other progressive elements in Bangladesh has to meet with the progressive elements in India. The policymakers have to devise we have to have a relationship like USA and Canada.
Right, right.
You see what I'm saying? Like
Mutual
USA has,
cooperation and understanding.
exactly. USA has the auto industry in Detroit. The parts are manufactured in Windsor across the on a lake. You see what I'm saying? So that was Bangabandhu's plan, back in '73. That then there will be no need for animosity or
Right.
hatred. Yeah. So that's where we should plan to. And I can tell you with a positive note what all the symptoms that I'm witnessing right now. If you are like a small student, of history, you can see that we're in the right direction right now. Yes, people are suffering in Bangladesh, but this will be over very soon.
Now, before I touch on to the last point of our discussion, sir, I would like to know a bit about, of course, related to 71, that is the welfare and taking care of freedom fighters that Sheikh Hasina government, I think, has touched upon effectively, which no other government in the past had touched upon. From the trials of war criminals of the 1971 war to the benefits, welfare and dignity restored to freedom fighters, which has been taken away by the Yunus government right now. I would like you to talk a bit about that, sir. What were the policies and what were the steps taken at that time by the Sheikh Hasina government?
Many. First of all, the stipend to the freedom fighters and their families were like quadrupled. Okay? So that this is actually, it's not just a honorarium for namesake. At least they can, live with that even in a small measure. Secondly, what was really lost, because after the assassination of our founding father, the country was derailed in a totally different direction, right?
Right.
So we could not honor the people who were really raising voice for us in 1971. So there was that, she took that step very strongly and prominently, around the world, the people who were helping us in 1971, honoring them. That was definitely, we are indebted to them. Third, more than 6,000 Indian soldiers sacrificed their life for our freedom. Like the French sacrificed their life in the American Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
In
The Americans in World War II for the French.
Yeah, and again, Americans did that to actually free France
From Hitler.
from Hitler in 1945. So it was mutual. So the friendship is written in blood. You see what I'm saying in the thing. So we honored them. Suddenly, Indira Gandhi, it's unimaginable. Without her, we could not have our freedom that easily. I'm not saying easily in a sense, but in such a diplomatic, step that she took, even at the last moment when General Jacob, I mean, gave Niazi that peace that he have to unconditional surrender to uh, India and Bangladesh forces, and Niazi wanted Bangladesh to be out, and he communicated with Indira Gandhi, and she said the way it is written, he has to sign on that. Okay, so that she gave the dignity. I will say one more at last point that I just remember one thing that I have to say for sure. You see, there is a massive propaganda in Bangladesh. I mean, I'm just shifting away from your question, but I have to say this. There's a massive propaganda in Bangladesh that these people thrived on, and BNP always thrives on, is that Awami League and Bangabandhu and his daughter, our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, is pro-India. It's open now that when Bangabandhu was flying from London to Delhi on 9th January, or coming to 10th January in 1972, he was telling the Indian diplomat that you have to relate a very important message to Indira Gandhi. He said what? He said she has to remove the Indian soldiers from my land. And that was the first point of discussion with Indira Gandhi. Just can you imagine? Within 3 months, Srimati Indira Gandhi gave the honor to Bangabandhu, to the Bangladeshi people, and to the freedom of Bangladesh. She removed. Till today, American soldiers are there in Japan, in South Korea. Till today.
Till today.
Okay. So how is he pro-India? Okay. Fast forward in year 2000, when President Bill Clinton visited Bangladesh, BNP already said openly that they are going to sell gas. There was a rumor that Bangladesh has a lot of gas, and India wants it. And Bill Clinton openly said that Bangladesh should give it to India. BNP openly said it that definitely. What are you going to do with the gas under the ground? We will export to India. At that time, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was at the end of her first term, and she said on his face, the most powerful man in the world, on his face, he said that we will keep the 30 years requirement for Bangladesh first, and then we will sell it to India. So how is Sheikh Hasina pro-Indian? You see, this narrative, we failed to tell the people, she said it, but she's a political leader. When a political leader says, the opponent says, oh, this is politics. But we should have said it many more times, to make people understand that they are pro-Bangladesh. Both of them wanted, she still wants friendship with India. That doesn't mean that we can be capitulated by India. Neither of them, surrendered to the will of India. The quite opposite. In 1972, the Indian soldiers left because Bangabandhu asked them to leave. In 2000, his daughter said, well, we are not going to give the gas. So their first thought process was all about Bangladesh. So hopefully this trend will continue. The mistakes that we have done, those of us who are right now the vanguards of pro-liberation forces, we extol our founding father and our culture. We have a much bigger job to do worldwide. And we have a coalition, and we will be doing it. And when she comes to power again, definitely, Bangladesh will be a different, different story at that time.
Now, regarding our last topic of discussion, sir, that is, I would like to go through a specific example that I had seen myself. That is, I think on the 3rd or the 4th of August 2024, at Rawa Club in Dhaka, there were many senior army officers, and a few of them were from the Mukti Bahini fraternity, including gallantry awardees, who went there, protested against Sheikh Hasina government, and claiming that the firing onto the students by the armed forces and by the police should stop. Now, later on, of course, it has all come out that they were not students, ordinary students, of course. There were terrorists, there were snipers involved in gunning down innocent students. Jamaat Shibir were attacking students, ordinary students, and though there might have been some firing, but most of the killings were done by such snipers and such anti-liberation and terrorist forces in Bangladesh. It all came out, and I think Brigadier General Sheikh Hussain, who himself had gone to the Rawa Club at that time with these army officers, has claimed this. And with this example, sir, and of course with the historical examples of people like Ziaur Rahman and others, the entire fraternity of the Bangladesh armed forces, the army especially, they do seem to be going always. They have a tendency of going against the very foundation of the ideals of Bangladesh. Even after I would say it's a coup by General Waqar, and for which Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had to leave the country, which ultimately led to a complete anti-liberation stance, pro-Pakistani stance of Bangladesh against the very values of Bangladesh right now in Bangladesh. So this entire changing of stance back to its Pakistani mindset of the Bangladesh army, this continuous betrayal of the values of 1971, what do you think of that, sir? And how it has been propagated after all these years, despite I would say all the facilities given to the armed forces by the Sheikh Hasina government, like the Sena Kollan Shomiti, the DOHS, I would say whatever is there in Bangladesh right now. Why does the armed forces keep on going against the values of the liberation war that made the birth of the Bangladesh armed forces possible in the battlefield in 1971 war, sir?
Well, it's all started with Ziaur Rahman. I will say, if you point one culprit who destroyed the ethos of liberation war, was him. No doubt about it. He was very smart, smart in a sense, I would say. He was basically an ISI, guy. He was recruited early on. And even in his writings, you can see, that he was there. So then the recruitment was in Bangladesh at that time when he was in power. First of all, he killed and made retirement to a lot of freedom fighters in army, the air forces. So after that, for 21 years, the recruitment was those who were recruited were, taken for granted that India will be their enemy. Who they're going to fight? They're going to fight India. Is what I'm saying. So the same sentiment, the cycle of sentiment that Pakistanis had, were infested in Bangladeshi military academia. Yeah, there were some progressive military officers. Definitely there were. Unfortunately, I think the screening process was very poor during this last 17 years. And I'm sure, reflecting back, the policymakers of Awami League must think that how was this recruitment process? And I hear that up to the ranks of measure, they were infested of Hizb ut-Tahrir ideologies and Jamati ideologies. Secondly, I'm saying from your this forum today, openly and clearly, those who recommended this present army chief to be the chief to Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina must be brought into the limelight to say, and they should be prosecuted, because there were definitely somebody recommended him. You see what I'm saying? And he's supposed to be the relative, some distant relative, but relative of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. He is openly actually Jamati guy, no doubt, and is a coward, no doubt about that. And he broke his own promise on August 5th when he said, "Your lives and properties are safe with me," and he did exactly opposite.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what we have to do, like I said, look, in future, right now, present, you can see how it happened. Ziaur Rahman's 21-year rule, and then Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's only brief stint for 5 years, and then again, BNP Jamaat's rule. But in 17 years, we could have recruited ideologically pro-Bangladeshi people. The definition of pro-Bangladeshis have to be redefined. It has to be redefined with liberation war, surrounding liberation war, and nothing else. But those who were recruited was unfortunate. But what you said about the Rawa Club and Shakawat also openly said it. I mean, DGFI, they were involved with these things because the person who called him, the sir, don't go over there. The sniper will kill you. How do you know the sniper is going to kill you? Now the major, so-called major, that Shubro,
Afridi, right?
Afridi, there's Afridi in Pakistan. So he's openly saying that they did it. So it's all clear to ordinary people in Bangladesh who did it. And Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has nothing to do with this. And this verdict is partial because if she's committing crime against humanity and a command responsibility, the police force doesn't work in the command responsibility form. They take individual action, and if they commit excesses, they will be scrutinized and bring to justice. But army has a command structure, right? The command responsibility falls into the army structure. But how is General Waqar is in power and the GDFI chief is in power, and then you accuse Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina for command responsibility? It doesn't work. It's like a partial. I don't want to touch upon that, but I can say only in the future tense. In future we'll have to have much more cohesion with Nepal and Bhutan and Myanmar and this army and our regional security issues and the pride of our army. It is the only army who had outstanding victory in 1971. Okay, so the Americans had a victory by George Washington. So we have to instill that pride into our army, because unfortunately to the armed forces, I have to tell you, you had only one victory in 1971. After that, you killed each other, and the army always meddled into the political spectrum and made Bangladeshi politics a mess, totally. They have to stay into the barracks, be trained to fight the enemy, wherever they're from. And right now, the enemy doesn't have to be neighbor. The enemy can come from across the ocean, from a different continent. It happened in Middle East. You can see it.
Right.
So you have to be prepared for that. But what they did is a cowardly act. Bringing right now. The Chittagong port is already given away.
A Danish company, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, behind that, who they are. Is what I'm saying. But it's a profit-making port. Why should you give it to the foreign entity?
Right.
And in such a disguised fashion, with no discussion, public discussion, and armed forces is responsible for that now. And General Waqar is definitely responsible for this. He betrayed the country. He betrayed the armed forces. He betrayed our history, and he betrayed on top. Most of all, he betrayed his commander, the defense minister and the prime minister, Sheikh Hasina. So he's a coward. His name will be written next to Mirzapur and all that. So
he did something like that, of course.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll fight back. People are fighting back. There will be bloodshed, but the victory will be for our liberation and for
the liberation war of Bangladesh.
For liberation, definitely. And they destroyed Bangabandhu's home. In every heart there is a Bangabandhu's home right now. Every heart there is a 32.
Right.
So it's an immense loss in a way, because it's such a. I sometimes become disgusted that I belong to this nation in a way, because how can you destroy? You can destroy other sculptures, you can remake it, but you cannot remake 32.
It's not possible.
But when they stopped Bangabandhu's name to be pronounced, it was in every lips from 1975 to 1996 or something. When you destroyed Bangabandhu's home, that home is in every heart right now. I can see people. That is the epicenter of our fighting back. So I'm saying. So hopefully,
I've been inside that house, and they didn't let me inside with my cell phone. But I wish I could take some photographs, because I didn't expect that it would be destroyed.
Nobody could destroy. Nobody. Every time I visited Dhaka, even if I didn't visit any relative, that is like it's kind of a pilgrimage for the
Pilgrimage, absolutely.
Bengalis, for the Bengalis. You see what I'm saying? Any Bengali from anywhere around the world,
Right.
with that courage, with that sacrifice, with that history, in that the surrounding that house, the man who was living there. This is unbelievable. I mean, no other home in entire world. I visited George Washington's home. He was a slave trader. I mean, to frankly speaking, right? I mean, he didn't have. I mean, he was a very prudent guy,
That
no
was
doubt
how the
about it.
culture was there in America at
Yeah,
that
the
time.
culture was there, yeah. But here is the house. It spoke of emancipation. It spoke of liberation. You see what I'm saying? So every single brick of it is important. That little kid was arrested just to collect a brick. What he said, that this will be the pilgrim place for the Bengalis. That we have been saying for many years. This is a pilgrim place for every Bengali. So
Right.
that is one place that I mean, we cannot forgive those who did it, and the fight is on, and the victory will be ours. And especially, we are immensely grateful that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is alive, and we are grateful to India once again, because there was a plan. I think this Waqar could have. I mean, his plan was to completely humiliate her and kill her. But thanks to Indian government, Prime Minister Modi, the army chief, what a decision that they took at that time, at the right time, and she was escorted out.
On
In the
time.
Second World War, French leader, um, he also went to England. You see what I'm saying? And then they fought back and came back, and liberated France. So
When I'm not
now,
remembering his name, I think Charles de Gaulle. Right, right.
not Charles de Gaulle. Charles de Gaulle. Sorry, I mean, how could I forget this guy? So he was pretty much against England. You see what I'm saying? Because French and English, they have always a, kind of a commotion among them, right? But when Hitler's forces occupied Paris, he with his armed forces, they went to England,
Right.
and then they launched an attack and then liberated Paris and liberated France. So our prime minister, did the right thing, and she's courageous. She's a unique leader, and under her leadership, the victory will be ours. We just pray that God gives her long life and good health.
As
That
she
she can
says
see.
all the times, I think that she has been alive to do a lot of incomplete
Exactly.
things.
Yeah,
Things that are
but
incomplete.
what one of the unique feature of her, she always follows the rule of law. The killers of Bangabandhu, they were self-declared killers. I would have set up a tribunal. Hey, you already declared you killed, so you were accused. So just give them the verdict and everything. But she went through the lower court, waited for that many years. Her prime ministership ended, and then Begum Khaleda Zia came, and she, put an obstacle to the justice. Then she came back to power again, and then the justice was served. This is a unique feature of her. She doesn't believe in revenge, even though we are, quite ready for revenge. But she doesn't believe in revenge. She believes in rule of law. That makes her a leader. That makes her different from everybody else. So I don't know how rule of law will be applied, because I'm a very pacifist kind of a guy. But when I think about this, I become
Anybody can
from
be
inside
vengeful, sir.
so
Anybody.
angry, and I just have to calm myself down. Hey, I'm not this. I have other way to express my anger. So, but I can assure you, the victory will be ours. And in that day, like Tajuddin Ahmed said, that friendship with India, with mutual respect
Right.
and equal footing, and hopefully Mamata Di should understand that, not to put us down in any form or shape. If the progressive forces are defeated in Bangladesh, West Bengal does not win at all. I mean, that she has to understand. I think Modi ji understands, Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji understands very well. But I mean, West Bengal is our like we have the same veins, right?
Right.
You know,
Right.
so we I mean, if that part hurts, we get hurt. When Bangladesh is suffering, West Bengal is suffering too.
I
See what I'm
think I
saying?
always say this: 80% of ours come from your country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you know, I mean, this partition, and you know, I mean, I think I took a long time from your slot, but just to let you know, the Hindu community in Bangladesh,
Hmm.
they are possibly the worst sufferer since the Jewish people in Europe, because in the partition they suffered. After the partition, the 50s and 60s, they suffered. In 71, in the genocide, if a Muslim was, I mean, Muslim Bengali was spared, a Hindu Bengali was never spared. You see what I'm saying? Women raped, they were killed, right? And then there was a brief period that we are all Bengali, you know, irrespective of our religion. So
Hmm.
we cannot be like, you know, we are. I'm an American citizen. Our our passport doesn't have that what kind of religion we have. You see what I'm saying? So we will have that kind of a country, and Bangabandhu had that dream. Tajuddin Ahmed had that dream. But Zia Rahman again completely shifted this country in a very wrong direction. You know that we are suffering now. But I hope that you know we have the rights of our Hindu community, Buddhist community, Christian community as equal rights as everybody else. You know we have to have that country back again. You know.
Right.
So
With immense
so
respect to your freedom fighters, and as Indian Army officers have said to me that Bangladesh had been my what I can say karma bhumi. A lot of Indian Army veterans who fought in 71 say this. So,
definitely,
any
definitely.
last I would say message that you want to give to both to the people of both of our nations, because I personally believe still, with all the animosity since the last 15 months between both the countries, that India Bangladesh always will share this born homie that was there. So any message, sir, for both of the people of both the nations?
You know, our history, our culture, our ideas, you know, even our angers, we have so much in common.
Right.
That's my point. And it's not, I mean, again, I'm saying, I mean, no disrespect to Punjab or Rajasthan or, you know, those, you know, there's a long border, but there's like a basically really no man's land. There's no people living there. But if you look at our border, so people are both sides so densely populated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the songs of in West Bengal ripples in our heart. You know, our songs or natoks or you know the theaters ripples in Calcutta.
Right.
We have to be much closer. But I mean, in all respect, not just culturally, politically, and fighting the rumors back. This is so important. And this communalism, the curse of communalism, we'll have to fight back. You know, that's why we'll have to have that intellectual. If any nation has Rabindranath Tagore,
Mm-hmm.
can you imagine? I mean, what kind of a nation that? I mean, could have. And we are unfortunate that we could not make Rabindranath that universal like Shakespeare is. You know, but he has many-fold talent. That I mean, I'm not comparing because these are both gifts from God. If we have somebody like Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, we could not make him universal. His speech became internationally recognized,
Mm-hmm.
but you know his presence could be universal, like Lincoln and Jefferson. I see him in the combination of Lincoln and Jefferson. You know the ideas of emancipation and liberty.
Right.
And in his speech, what Jefferson wrote for 3 months, he gave in an 18-minute speech, and I can analyze that in that direction. So we'll have to be a better outlook. Not everybody will be, but those among us who are in the forefront, you know, there is a political spectrum, there is a fighting spectrum, and then there should be another spectrum that we can align this history and culture and make a better friendship. You know, because diplomatic relationship happens between two countries, between two capitals, but friendship happens between two peoples,
People. Right.
and that has to be in every single step, you know. So but the first and foremost, after our victory, is to fight back the rumors. We should openly challenge that. Show us one article in one contract that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina signed that she sacrificed Bangladesh's interest. You see, I mean, we'll have to be all-out war. That has to be the all-out war, and India has to help us in that direction. How much India has given, like Adani's power, we are getting it cheaper than anything else. You know, but the rumor has it, you know, that they are getting too much money and too much, what is this? And definitely Bangladesh education system has to be changed, you know, much more forward direction. But I think our Prime Minister is very, I mean, she's full of wisdom. She knows. I'm sure she has charted out her course, what Bangladesh will look like after this victory. So,
right. I hope the best for the change in the regime. I mean, whatever you are doing and people like you are doing, so that the change in regime happens in Bangladesh and Bangladesh comes back to what it was, not this hijacked form of East Pakistan. And it's beneficial for both of us. And I would say that your insights, sir, regarding the Awami League, the freedom struggle, and whatever is happening right now is very, very, I would say, an eye-opener for us Indians as well, because we are seeing a narrative that is like very common, and like the light and darkness is not very much there in those narratives. So from a Bangladeshi perspective, you can explain this. It's very important, sir. And I was
thank you for having me. It was a very interesting discussion, and I hope the listeners they revisit this time. And when you said that we will go back to the the previous mode, no, I hope that we go back to our liberation spirit,
right,
of 1971. I hope we go back to our time when we know that we have Rabindranath in common. I'm just saying time again Rabindranath because everywhere you look around.
I mean, both of our national anthems were written by him. Both.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, even in nature you can find his songs. You see what I'm saying? So our existence as a Bengali, like I said, our existence as a human being is nothing without Rabindranath Tagore. And our existence as a Bengali is nothing without Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. If you don't understand, we fail. So I hope our education system and our policy and polity surrounds about that cultural dimension.
Right, sir.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming here and talking, sir, to giving your insights as well. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.